Hello, and welcome to CareSmartz360 On Air. I'm Dennis Gill, Senior Sales Consultant at CareSmartz360. What does it take to turn struggling healthcare organizations into high-growth success stories? Matt Murphy has spent his career answering that question. A four-time private equity-backed CEO, Matt has raised $40 million, completed seven acquisitions, and built a national home-based therapy platform and delivered more than significant growth through strategic turnarounds. In this episode, he shares powerful lessons on leadership, operational discipline, and growth that every home care leader can apply to build a stronger and a more resilient organizations. So welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Dennis, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
We're really thankful that you were able to take out the time today for our listeners. And I hope this is a pretty fruitful session for all our listeners, wherever they are listening from all over the world. Okay, so without wasting any time, Matt, I'll straight away jump in with my first question for you. So, Matt, you achieved exponential expansion EBITDA growth during a turnaround. What was the very first change that delivered the biggest impact for you?
Yeah, appreciate that. I think the first thing that I did as I look back on it would be to sort out what is the thing that we do really well,
Mhm.
and and to really prioritize around that. I got advice once to do six things 1,000 times rather than try to do 1,000 things 6 times.
Six times. Got it.
I think, look, every company's got its strengths and weaknesses, and I think there's always an ambition to try to fix everything at once.
Mhm.
But I think the better approach in the time that I've done a few different turnarounds in my career is to let's let's cut back to what we do really well and let's really focus on that and then build from there. So rather than try to chase too many goals and priorities at once, let's
Mhm.
just do it in a stepwise fashion.
Stepwise fashion. Okay. And many home care agencies mainly focus on growth. So, what are the three operational mistakes that prevent profitable growth?
You know, I think it's very similar to the what you do in a turnaround, but it's the phrase that I use is stabilize, standardize, and then optimize. So I think
Okay.
if you do it in that order,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to set yourself up for better success ultimately when you're trying to scale. Look, we all want to grow. We all want to take over the
Yep,
world and we want to, we want to grab all the market share that we can.
definitely.
But I think the challenge is if you try to do that too quickly. So if you try to if you stomp on the gas before you've got it stabilized and before you've
Mm-hmm.
got a team built and before you've got your processes laid out, I think that there's a there's an expression I've used in a few different places, but fill in the name of the company. The company I run today is called Caregivers of America, so
Okay.
CGA. We call it a one CGA way.
Okay.
Well, anybody can adopt that. A one ABC company way. Let's get down to what is a standardized way that we're going to do all these processes. So I
Got
think if
it.
you get that done right and you get that done first, so
Mm-hmm.
again, stabilize, get the right people, standardize, get the one company way, then
Yeah.
you can optimize. Then you can stomp on the gas and go. I think that the other thing that I think that folks that are really aggressive about growing and want to grow, and look, that's what we all got into this for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that you can't negotiate with your standards. So it gets tempting. Like I just had this, you get close to the end of the month and you're trying to hit a
Mm-hmm.
monthly goal,
Yeah.
and you've got a standard for what a quality start means, for
Mm-hmm.
instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's tempting to say, what if we relax our standard because
Yeah.
we're trying to hit that goal?
Got it.
Well, you're kind of writing a check that that the next month is going to have to pay, and so it's
Yeah.
it's probably better to if you came up with a good standard, let's stick with that,
Mm-hmm.
and and over time, I think that will prove. So I think I think it's those two things that I've seen where you can get tripped up on when you're trying to
Mhm.
grow a little too quickly is trying to go before you've standardized and stabilized, and if you negotiate with your own standards when you know better, you gotta do better.
Yeah. So that was, you said standardize, stabilize, and then optimize.
That's right. Yeah.
Correct, correct. And next thing, you completed 7 acquisitions while building a national platform. That's great. So, what lessons can home care leaders apply when scaling through acquisition or expansion?
Yeah. Again, I think there's probably three bits of wisdom that I can pass on this. And
Sure, sure, sure.
those 7 acquisitions were with one company, but I think most of the companies I've been with, we've had multiple acquisitions, and so I've learned, I've got scar tissue to that has informed these lessons. I think the first one is to think about the decision about what can be centralized and what should be localized. The
Okay.
old adage that healthcare is local. I think you got to be thoughtful about what resources you want to have in market, and
Mm-hmm.
then what resources can be better done from, one centralized location or back office. So I think
Okay.
that's step one, is to get that right. I think the other thing in an acquisition, particularly in home care, is, look, these are people businesses. These are businesses that generally are, um, the one of the strengths they have is the relationships they have in the
Yep.
community.
Yep.
And you can't, with the stroke of a pen, replace those relationships. That's a,
Definitely.
yeah.
Correct. Correct. That's good.
Dennis, as a guy who's running a sales team, you know how
Yeah,
important
I
it
know
is.
that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that is.
you've got to have a patient, thorough, thoughtful process for this owner that we're
Uh-huh.
buying the business from, who knows everybody in town because they've been here for decades. That's not gonna be an overnight process for us
Definitely.
to build the same trust from
Mm-hmm.
those referral sources. So you've got to have a really, again, a patient strategy for that. I think that the last thing is, and this dovetails with the being thoughtful about the relationship with that founder, is to not be too quick to want to rebrand.
Okay.
So I'll give you a quick story. In the last company that I ran, we made an acquisition and it was in a
Mm-hmm.
different town. We were excited about the business. We went through all those steps maybe a little too quickly, where we
Okay.
had a new role for the founder, and we wanted to put our fancy new brand on top of the old brand.
Yeah.
And we ran through our checklist, and we did a very efficient job. But then I was down in that market, and I remember talking to one of the people that had stopped referring to us, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, but I don't know where this person is, and I don't know what this company is." So,
Yeah.
it's really in the eye of the beholder, but it really pays to be patient with those two things, about how
Okay.
we how you think thoughtfully about those relationships. And look, such an important aspect to everything you're going to do in home care, home health, is how you build up the trust with the people that are going to send those referrals to you, and the families that are going to choose you. So you
Yeah.
can't go too fast on those things.
Okay. Yeah, because the thing is definitely as I'm just understanding a little bit on that, that the people over there, they must have had a personal relationship with that person from where you acquired that. So that
Yeah.
they might have faced some hurdles, or they might have taken some time to get used to the new people. So that can be the reason.
Yeah. Slow and steady, I think, is the
Yeah, slow and
approach on that.
steady.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And
Eh,
nothing more beneficial than a handoff from that person that they've trusted for decades. I mean, get that
Definitely.
person's endorsement, but
Yeah,
to just show up without it and introduce yourself as a new person with a new company name, you've given up any of the benefit of the decades of depth in the market there.
definitely. Correct, correct. And Matt, during the periods of regulatory change, what
Mhm.
separates agencies that thrive from those that struggle?
That's a good question. I think, look, we're in an industry that is highly regulated and rightfully so. I think that when you think about vulnerable populations and you think about, the folks that we take care of, it's good that there's all the regulatory protection around them and that
Yep.
it's going to be a constantly evolving place. I think it is what separates companies that can do it with the right amount of resources and can do things at scale from the folks that maybe are cutting corners. So I think the two things you want to think about in regulatory change is you don't want to be on either of the, I'll call it the polar opposites of this.
Hmm.
You can't overreact to the change
Hmm.
because you still have a mission and you still
Yep.
have people and people's lives that are counting on you. So you can't call a timeout. You can't stop the wheels from turning. You gotta make the changes while you continue to deliver great service. I mean, that's got to be job number one. So
Yep.
I think there's one, you can overreact to the change. You can also underreact to the change.
Yep.
You can um, you know, kind of put your head in the sand and think that nothing
Nothing
really
is
needs to
nothing
change
but
today.
yeah.
Also the wrong, also the wrong reaction.
Yeah. No problem. No problem.
But so yeah, I think the attitude toward regulatory changes is expect it.
Hmm.
And it's the right thing from those regulatory bodies to want to make sure that we're all out there doing the right thing. It's if you're a company that has the right and appropriate and a healthy um, attitude towards compliance, then we should those of us that behave that way, we should invite more scrutiny because we want to make sure that our industry is clean and that if there are any bad actors that they can't keep up with the regulatory changes
Hmm.
that process works. But yeah, I think when it happens is have lay out an incremental process and just try to get better every day with that compliance
Hmm.
while not overreacting or underreacting.
Overreacting and not underreacting. Okay. So now the thing that everybody's talking about nowadays, AI. AI is becoming a major focus in home care. Where do you see AI creating the greatest operational and financial impact over the next few years?
Yeah, it's a fascinating time to be in business, isn't it? I mean, it's may you live in interesting times. AI has made this a very interesting time.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that is, we've talked about it a few times already, but that is so I think what makes people, myself included, and I'm sure yourself, Dennis, but what makes us love home care is the human element, is
Human
the,
element
the the people aspect, is watching the relationship that gets formed between the family and that
and
caregiver.
the caregiver. Yeah.
I always think about how, ultimately at the funeral, the family's in the front row and the caregiver is with them. I mean, there's just beautiful stories that happen in this that are very human.
Hmm.
Again, no, nothing. I can't imagine a business being more personal than
Then
home
home
care.
care. Yeah.
But with that, you tend to have then folks that have these great relationships, but they're also carrying a lot of the domain knowledge in their heads.
Hmm.
And so I think we want to be able to keep the focus on building those relationships, but then all those things that about, yeah, I know that I've got a caregiver in this zip code that will work, that has, all the nuances about those
Hmm.
details.
Hmm.
That's where we can leverage AI, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to things like staffing, when it comes to things like billing, when it comes to things that are either processes that can be automated or where you've got sets of data that are otherwise uncorrelated, where you're trying to make that correlation. So I think all those things can help companies grow faster by leveraging AI in a smart way. I think that's so that there's a lot on the kind of again staffing, billing, some of the back office things that
Yeah,
allow you to keep your resources on those relationship building aspects, which is really what allows you to scale these businesses. Obviously in the for folks with jobs like mine and running the organization, it's what we have in terms of data to really understand the trends within our business,
hmm,
really understand how it is that I can make those resource allocation decisions. So the
yeah,
FP&A function, that's where AI will has and will continue to make a big impact. I think the other thing that I think about now in what I think is still the early innings of how AI is going to impact every business is, and what I talk to my team a lot about is that we have a real long-term plan. I
hmm,
think there's a lot of things that are kind of popping up as quick solutions on AI, but I think what we're trying to be diligent about is uh, what is the vision for our use of AI that is
hmm.
consistent with the tech stack that we're building, so
Okay.
that we don't find ourselves 6 months from now with a hodgepodge of things that we've just kind of grabbed off the market as they're
Correct.
emerging. Let's be patient and let the process, build out so that we can really construct the right tech stack for where we think the business is going to be as an AI assisted company.
Yeah, mainly it does help in the operational side of it because as I've seen this side grow, the AI and the operational side, as I am working on that part. So there are many
Yeah.
aspects that are loved by the home care agencies. Basically, as you were saying, in staffing, billing, it does help. It does reduce the man hours, but yes, the human touch, it always remains. That can never be
Yep.
changed in this industry.
Yeah,
Completely
you
agree.
got to have both.
Yeah,
Yeah, got to have
obviously it
both.
does. It does. It does. Okay, so Matt, finally, the last thing. Looking ahead to 2026, we already passed the first quarter, ended the second quarter too. What should home care leaders prioritize now to build more profitable, resilient, and enterprise-ready organizations?
Yeah, it's it is an interesting time, right, at the midpoint of the year to be reflecting on that. Think about how much change we've seen just in the last 6 months and what we
Mhm.
anticipate going forward. So I think it's really it's points that we've talked about today, Dennis. I think
Yep.
it's how do you best leverage the technology that's available?
Hmm.
How do you have a long-term vision for what that tech stack is? It's going to really help you operate the most efficiently, take the best advantage of the data that you have, and to do things in the most productive way so that you can scale. And
Hmm.
at the same time, I think what is constantly a reminder to me is that I've never had an occasion where you regret the investment in people.
Yep.
So, look, these are home care, as you know, is really can be really as we talked about how rewarding it can be. It can also be really messy. It can be really challenging. There's a lot of
Yeah.
human elements at play. It takes people that are really good at solving problems. It takes people that are leaders. So I think that while you're making the investments in technology, is to also continue to make the investments in how you select great people, how
Hmm.
you develop those people, and how you keep that healthy supply and premium on leadership in your company so that you can leverage the technology in the right way. I think those are the two things, right? It's people and technology and how you allocate your resources between those two. But look, in some ways, we're blessed that home care it's a relatively simple business in that
Yep.
regard. So I think keeping it focused on those two things will continue to be beneficial and be rewarding in the rest of this year and into next.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for all the knowledge that you have provided to all the listeners today. It was a wonderful session. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. And I hope you also had a good time with this conversation and you distributing your knowledge to all our listeners.
Absolutely, Dennis. Pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy the conversation, and look forward to whatever's next for us.
Yeah, surely. Thank you. Thank you again, Matt. And thank you to all my listeners today. So I am Dennis Gill signing off for today, and I'll shortly be back with you. Thank you.